to Detroit at Black and White, our Saturday edition. We're here at the Historical Guardian building. We got Martin Luther King photo in the background. Allan Lengel, Deadline Detroit. How you doing, Allan?
I'm good.
Vanessa, 2 in a row.
Good morning, Detroit Black and White viewers. Listen, if you are watching, we want you to hit that like button, subscribe. Our subscribers are going up. I don't know if you guys are paying attention. We want it to go up.
We got
up.
2.
Also, thank you so much for those that are watching us on Facebook. Good morning. Make sure that you join in the comments. We're going to acknowledge you. Good morning, Detroit Black and White.
Can I get your autograph? Got the glasses.
I got the glasses on today. There's a big old mic in my face. I want people to see my face. What's this? What's going on here? What is this all about?
Well, they can't hear you, and then that's what it's all about.
Oh, they can hear me because you know I can project.
No, you
right?
can't.
I do that all the
We've been
time.
having problems with you. But anyway, welcome to the show. We'll start with you, Vanessa.
Oh, why?
Yeah. Oh.
Okay. Okay. What you want, my outrage?
Yeah, I want your outrage.
Okay, so
you've been outraged in a long time.
So I don't know necessarily if it's my outrage, but it's the outrage of the people who live in the 8 Mile Lassa area. I used to live in Southfield over on the other side. So there's a gas station on the right side of the street. There was one on the left side of the street. There's one like a block up. Anyway, there was a CVS there. And that CVS closed down for whatever reason. And the neighbors are really ticked off because they're talking about putting another gas station over there. And even though the neighborhood association has said, the neighbors have gotten together and said, listen, we don't need another liquor store. We don't need another gas station. We don't need nothing that's a drive-through. We want something else there. Well, of course, the powers that be has approved it for being a gas station. And guess what? The people have spoken. Let the people's voice be heard. They live in that neighborhood. You don't. You do not. They don't want another liquor store. They don't want another gas station. It does matter because have you gone to that gas station?
No, I say doesn't matter because you got folks down at City Hall or whoever decide they get in a permit or whatever to let these folks come in zoning, and you know how the game is played.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying it don't matter because people that used to live by all the teddy bars and shit.
It's one like 2 blocks up.
Complain forever and ever and ever, and nothing was ever done about it. You know, the topless clubs, some of them enhance the neighborhood, bring in business. It was a legitimate business.
They say the food is great.
Wait a minute.
I don't know.
I know. It's a legitimate business. I represented several of them. The city tried to take their license from them. You know.
But what if the neighbor said, "Hey, we don't want it"?
But it was there when they moved there.
Okay, but these people.
You know, it's like the airport.
Look, that's
you moved into a neighborhood that the airport is in your backyard. Now you're complaining about the noise. CBS was a problem probably too.
It was. They had security guards and everything else. It was filthy because I was stopping there sometimes.
Yeah.
It was a trip. So yeah, it was a problem. It closed down, and so now, like I said, they're trying to open up a liquor store with a drive-through restaurant, and the neighbors are like, no. Now, if you know that neighborhood right on the corner there, on the south side is a gas station, and then there's an apartment building. They've been talking about the apartment building because I'm telling you, you talk about New Jack City, that's what I would call it. Okay. It's crazy. Okay. So I think
they're trying to clean up
yes.
They're trying to clean it up, and we know that with a liquor store or a gas station, it brings a whole lot of attention of people standing there selling loose cigarettes, harassing you,
selling
drugs, all kind of stuff, and some of the folks are buying stolen goods. So let's talk about it.
And some of them were buying the things that P. Diddy was buying. But anyway, I digress.
Okay, that's Allan, your outrage.
Another tragedy in the city there at the playground over on the east side where a 4-year-old boy was killed. An 18-year-old man, teenager was killed, and a 17-year-old was wounded. At a city park on a Friday evening where people are just chilling out at the end of the week, and it's just another tragedy in the city. And I don't know, it's just never ending. I mean, it's always people say this is it. We're tired of the violence and this and that, but it doesn't stop.
No, what you do about it?
Yeah, I mean, I've been, when I was in DC, I was at the Washington Post. I'd go to so many candle vigils.
I'm sick of that. I'm sorry to seeing teddy bears and all that they leave.
Around the tree.
And the bottom line is and they blowing balloons up and shit. You know what? And another person
a week
is
later, you
dead.
drive by, the teddy bears are dirty.
And then you get city officials saying, we less murders this year than it was last year.
Right.
But that don't take away from the people who lost a 4-year-old.
Absolutely.
A 4-year-old. That is unbelievable. And do they catch these people?
But you know what?
They have 2 people in custody. But
you know what, Allan? But this goes to we're in this election season, and one of the issues is safety in the city of Detroit.
Right.
So you have a family enjoying themselves at a park, 4-year-old dead.
Okay. Right now,
it's just frustrating because, like I say, I've been so many of these candlelight vigils, and people say we're tired of this. It's got to stop. That's like 10 years ago, and 5 years ago, and last week, and it just never,
let's go back 30 years ago when Coleman Young had no crime day, had Magic Johnson and Isaiah Thomas walking down Woodward, etc. It's symbolically, it looks good, but
well, we have Frank Miles, who just was a crusader against youth violence and stuff. He just passed away, but his son in 1993 was 15 years old, walking to Redford High.
Going to football practice.
15 years old, walking, and some gang members were shooting, and he got hit by a bullet. He got hit by a stray bullet and died.
I can speak to that. My brother was murdered in 1983.
What happened? Yeah.
A guy 2 blocks away from the house shot him. It was they used to call it Devil's Night. I don't know what they call it, Angel's Night or Bell's Night. But so he thought that my brother and his friends were throwing rocks at his place. He got up and got out and shot him. And it made national news. So it's been going. And your question, is this just a part of urban living?
It shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be, but is it part of urban living?
This shit is part of America.
Okay.
But you know what?
America is violent.
But when you say that, you dismiss a solution. When I hear so much where people say, "Oh, there's gunfire on my block every night," who would put up with that? People just say, "Oh, that's just part of living on this block."
Well, what about tell the parents out at Oxford? Who will put up with that?
Right.
The same people that criticize folks in Detroit for putting up metal detectors in their schools are now advocating putting metal detectors in their schools. So this is what we're looking at. Now, my outrage is that MDOT has decided, fuck Detroit, fuck the people in Detroit. We're going to build on 375. They already cut some kind of deal. Whoever's gonna get all these contracts, the fix is in. And the mayor said, "Oh, it's not my concern because that the whole plan unchanged. It's not the plan that we had presented to the community." So this is what's gonna happen. I'm looking at my crystal ball. They're gonna complete whatever they're gonna complete. Get rid of 375 and gonna have a plaque that say Negroes live here, and that's all they're gonna get out of the city. And the millionaires,
You said
billionaires.
Negroes used to
that
live here.
right.
Used to live here.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what he said.
So that's not issue. Reparation task force, another joke. You know, like other communities, at least are pushing to come up with some realistic solutions on how to do reparations instead
And
of.
isn't the city has some?
It's a joke.
It's a
They got one person saying, I got a plan. Somebody else said, I got a plan. They all got fucking plans. And you guess who's at the head of all this? Said this was her baby.
Mary.
Yeah, Mary Sheffield.
Oh, so, Lord have mercy.
Yeah, but anyway.
Lord have mercy. I had no idea.
Anyway,
really? She's supposed to be in charge of that, but what was the election? How many was it? 2 years ago, or
shit? The reparation task force is just as fucked up as the charter commission was. You know, everybody. Well, that's Detroit. We're gonna take. Before you go, we're gonna take a break, and then we're gonna bring your guest.
All right.
Okay. I can talk about this shit forever.
All right.
Let's take a commercial break.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in a home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
All right, we are back here. We've got our guest, Scott Burnstein. We're gonna have these microphones. We'll have to make sure you're talking to the microphone. Scott is a journalist, covers organized crime. He's got a website called the Gangster Report, and he's got a lot of organized crime sources. And in fact, a little plug. I have a story in Our Magazine coming up in the July issue on the 50th anniversary of the Jimmy Hoffa disappearance. Scott is quoted in there, and Scott's got a little program going where he's going to be talking about the Jimmy Hoffa thing. So tell us a little bit about that, and then we're going to get into the Jimmy Hoffa mystery that 50 years ago in July of 1975, Jimmy Hoffa,
a long time
50 years ago, Jimmy was the head of the Teamsters. He went to prison. Richard Nixon commuted his sentence, I believe in 1971, and told him, you can get out of prison, but you can't be part of the Teamsters again until 1980. And he kind of started to ignore that and was trying to make a grab for the play. And then he was supposed to meet with some mobsters over at the Marcus Red Fox in Bloomfield Township that day, and no one ever saw him again. So Scott, welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm humbled and honored. July 23rd, out at Macomb Community College from 7 to 9 p.m. We're doing our first in a slate of live events from my company called OG Media. And it's called Hoffa Mystery Solved, a night of revelation. Sorry, it's called Hoffa Mystery Solved, a night of revelations 50 years later. Okay. And it's a 2-hour presentation, multimedia, never before seen video, never before seen archival photos straight from the FBI, a panel discussion with myself, former Detroit mobster Novi Tocco, former federal prosecutor Richard Convertino. And at the end of our first 90 minutes, we're going to tell people we've solved the crime. We're going to tell people who killed Jimmy Hoffa and where the body is. Okay. And then we're going to open it up for questions for about a half hour. So you can go to ogmediaevents.com and you can purchase tickets. And I tell you that, reserve them quick because they're getting scooped up rather rapidly, and we're excited. We're hoping to get about 500 people out there on July 23rd, and then if it goes well, we'll start going around the area, going around the state, and possibly going out to New York and New Jersey with it.
And you've talked to a lot of organized crime figures over the years, and you've talked to them about the Hoffa disappearance.
Talk to people that were involved in it.
How were they able to keep it so secret? And we still don't know where the body is.
It's because there is no body.
Why do you say that?
I don't believe there's a body to be found.
You think it was in the incinerator?
Well, I'm not going to go into where it went, because we'll talk about that at the event and be more definitive about this is who killed him and this is exactly where he was disposed of. But yeah, I don't believe there's an actual body to be found. So I think it's been a half-century wild goose chase.
I'll say that. I mean, one of the theories was that his body was taken to the Hamtramck incinerator, which was mafia owned and disposed of.
I don't believe that's true.
You don't think that's the case?
Well, I've never heard of him being taken to an Hamtramck incinerator.
Okay.
The Detroit mob owned 3 separate sanitation companies. That's true.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying, let me just back. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I've never heard specifically of the Hamtramck incinerator. There are 3.
I mean, that's been disputed, but there's also rumors or beliefs about New Jersey, about the body being taken to New Jersey. You don't buy into that?
No, I don't. I have a ton of respect for Dan Moldea, who I consider the godfather of Hoffa research. He's been there since day one. Nobody, it wouldn't have been possible for anybody to research the case and investigate the case if it wasn't for Dan really planting the seeds, literally from ground zero on July 30th, 1975, when he was here, working for the Free Press, working for the local NBC.
Right.
But as much as I respect him, and I diverge with him on this particular situation, I don't believe that Detroit would have allowed, when I say Detroit, I mean the Tokozerli crime family. I don't believe they would have allowed other people to come into Detroit to do the job, and I don't believe they would have allowed other people to come in to take the body out of Detroit. I think Dan falls into I don't want to say a trap, that's the wrong word, but Dan kind of follows suit in this, what I call an East Coast bias narrative, where because this perception is that, the mafia, is in New York and they call the shots for everybody. So as a result, they were in charge of everything, and that, the body got moved to New Jersey because of, according to Dan's theory, because the Genovese crime family wanted the body there as some type of a chip to play or some type of trophy.
Right.
And frankly, it's giving the Genovese crime family way too much credit.
Yeah. Vanessa has a question.
I have a few questions.
Sure.
One, I want to make a comment. One of our viewers, good morning to all our viewers, Cynthia Johnson, Duckett, Felicia Dean. Yeah, I don't have my glasses on, Tracy Huff. But listen, Ira Todd says July 23rd. Wow, that's the same anniversary date of the 1967 Detroit riots. Were
Actually,
you
it's
aware
the
of that?
30th.
It's July 30th,
July
1975.
Okay. All right. Now, my question
Shout out to
is,
Ira Todd, though, if that's him. I'm a big fan.
oh, it's him. So my question to you is, you said, did you actually talk to people that were involved?
Yes, I have.
Did they talk to you anonymously, or?
Yeah, I mean,
did
I don't feel comfortable, telling you.
And these
who the
people are still living. But how old are these? Folks?
No, a lot of the people that I've spoken to that were involved in it are now dead.
They are now dead.
I've been studying the crime, investigating it for 20 years.
Okay. All right. And let me ask you this other question. You've spoken to these people. How is it that you know that they are actually telling the truth, that they're credible?
Teresa.
Their accounts are credible.
I mean, I'm an investigative reporter. I'm an author. I've published 6 books. I've written, thousands of pages of reporting. I think my barometer is pretty good. Obviously, you can't. Nothing can be, because there is no body, because there have been no arrests, there is no indictment. Nothing can be 100% verifiable. But the people that I spoke to, and I spoke to a lot of them on both sides of the law.
Okay.
I think I've spoken to pretty much every FBI agent that's worked the case since 1975, or at least a large slice of them. And I've talked to a number of people that were in the mob that the FBI believes were either directly or indirectly involved with the crime. So, I can't say for sure, but I'm confident in my sourcing. I'm confident in covering all my bases in terms of talking to the investigators, talking to the doers, if you will, the conspirators. So I'm pretty confident in my sourcing.
Okay. All right.
And the reason, some people say the reason that they've been able to keep a lot of stuff secret and that the case went unsolved essentially was because the circle was so tight.
Yeah.
That they didn't let a lot of people, like there was talk about Jimmy Hoffa, he called him his stepson, Chucky O'Brien.
Yeah, Chucky O'Brien had nothing to do with it. It's one of the biggest kind of red herrings in the whole. The 2 biggest red herrings in the whole narrative are Chucky O'Brien and Tony Provenzano, who both had really nothing to do with it, but since day one have been pushed forward to be kind of 2 of the top suspects, and neither of them really had anything to do with it.
And obviously the Giacalone brothers.
The Giacalones, on the other hand, they did it. Those were the ones that they didn't pull the trigger per se.
Tony Jack set it up.
They were tasked with quarterbacking the conspiracy.
And
Tony
Vito,
and Billy Giacalone.
and the brother Vito was
unaccounted for on the afternoon by his FBI and Michigan State Police surveillance units.
It was probably there,
most likely.
And so the mystery goes on. And do you think, I guess the question is, I think maybe an older generation cares about it. Do you think the younger generation really gives a shit about?
Honestly,
about
I think if you're under 50 right now, or definitely if you're under 40, you don't. It's not even a question of caring. You don't know about it. Maybe if you knew about it, you would care. But I talk to my kids that are in their 20s, and they have no idea who Jimmy Hoffa is.
Really? And does it have sort of the mystique, the mystique of more a local? Well, it's a national story.
Yeah.
It doesn't have quite the mystique of the JFK assassination, but it still does have a lot of that.
Well, the difference I would say is that the JFK assassination ostensibly has been solved. Yeah. We've had answers to a degree from within,
but we're not sure
from within hours of him being murdered. I mean, they arrested somebody.
Right.
That person was then subsequently killed a couple of days later.
Right.
But there really wasn't the level of intrigue and mystery surrounding JFK that there has been Hoffa.
I tend to disagree, because I think one of the questions with JFK is like, who else might have been involved, the mafia, or
I get it, but there are a lot more answers in the JFK case than there is in the Hoffa case, and I think the Hoffa case is without question the most iconic, most speculated upon murder mystery, unsolved true crime mystery in American history. Again, all due respect, I agree that they're definitely. When it comes to JFK, not everything is what meets the eye. That's true.
Right.
But I don't think it reaches the level of uncertainty, I would say, as Hoffa. I'm pretty confident in both of them, but from a general, in terms of who did that, and in both cases, the mob is the culprit. Right. I do believe the mob killed JFK, the mob and the CIA killed JFK, and then the mob killed Hoffa, possibly the CIA as well.
Vanessa.
So, a couple of things. Stanley Brooks, one of our viewers, said that he thinks that people 50 over really don't care. one.
You said
Two,
people that over 15 over don't care.
yes, yes. Two, the
Under or
Oh,
over?
he's saying over.
under 50 and under.
Yeah, that's what I said initially. Yes.
Ira Todd said, basically, he sent me a Google. He said, not to dispute anyone, but you saying let's correct the record. He said the Detroit riots from 7/23/67 to 7/28/67.
Right.
So
Close.
to his point is, wow, your event is,
on the anniversary.
on the anniversary. My question is, how much is your event?
It's $50 a head.
And again, it's going to be at the Macomb.
It's going to be at Macomb Community
At
College
what day?
at their auditorium, July 23rd, 7 to 9 p.m. And it's like you're going to a play or a concert. It's going to be a very immersive, very interactive 2 hours where we're giving people the answer to the greatest mystery of all time.
And let me ask you: is really the biggest mystery whether who killed him or where the body is, or both?
Well, I would say the bigger mystery is where the body is.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we know that the mafia killed Jimmy Hoffa.
Right.
The general public might not know all the particulars, but I mean, the reason that there's so much hype and so much mythology around the Hoffa case is because there's no body, and it was almost the Detroit mob did almost too good of a job, and it was the perfect crime, except for the fact that they still have to talk about it every couple of years because of a dig or a tip. I talked to, I think the best quote I got from somebody that was an alleged conspirator was, if we had to do it all over again, we just would have left him in the parking lot of the Red Fox or left him on Telegraph Road. And it would have been a really big deal for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, but we wouldn't be talking about it.
And this was, nowadays with all the cameras and the DNA, the technology and stuff like that, probably someone wouldn't.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to do that today.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, any last words?
I thought we were going to be. This was going to be a little bit longer.
Oh, okay. Well, go ahead.
We have another guest.
Oh no, I apologize. I didn't realize. I thought I was coming on for the whole hour.
Oh,
no, it's all right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, it's totally okay.
Thank
you for having me on to promote.
No. All right. So, people, you're going to talk about now, real quickly. The Novitoko is a former mafia guy. Does he have some knowledge? What's his connection?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That you're going to come to this event, and
Right,
the three of us,
Right.
Scott Burnstein, the preeminent expert on the crime in the world, Novitoko, the former mobster, who's his grandfather, his uncle, his cousins did the crime,
right.
And then Richard Convertino, who's the federal prosecutor who prosecuted the mafia, and to just tease it out, but not to give away too much. Rick Convertino solved this crime in 1993, and he went to the FBI and say, "I know what happened here. I know, who the culprit is." And the FBI kind of dismissed him. And then 20 years after that, the FBI, in around 2013, which was 20 years after Rick came to that conclusion based on his investigations, the FBI from 2013 to today.
It's working under that theory.
Are working under the theory that Convertino put forth 20 years ago.
Why did they ignore him?
Because I'm getting told to hurry up. So Novitoko knows nothing. Well, I would agree that he knows nothing firsthand. You're right. He doesn't know anything firsthand. But I would say there aren't many better sources in terms of secondhand information.
Right. He was in that world for a long time.
He was in that world for a good 35 years and left in 2000 and went into witness protection. Came home about 10 years ago. But why? Because the person who we're going to kind of focus some of our program on wasn't really viewed in the first, let's say, first half or
3 times.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right.
Can I finish my
Yeah, please. Go ahead.
No, I was talking to somebody else.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
In the first half of the investigation really wasn't on the radar. it came later on. Rick was the first person to kind of bring the name up, and then in the 2000s and 2010s, other very historically significant confidential informants and such came forward with that name, and that's how the
So one more question. So you're going to have these people there. Basically, it's going to be am I hearing this correctly? It's going to be a surprise because people will be able to find out.
Right.
So that's part of the draw.
That's part of the sell. Yeah.
That's part of the sell.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right. So July 23rd.
July 23rd.
All right.
Macomb Community College. Thank you very much.
Scott's done a lot of great work. I've followed
I've seen it.
and he's contributed to Deadline Detroit, which we greatly appreciate.
Thank you very much. Thank you for giving me an opportunity.
So after this event on the 23rd, are we going to be able to see this on television or YouTube?
Well, I'm hoping to
Netflix or something like that.
I'm hoping to take this on the road.
Okay.
And after July 23rd, if it goes well,
So like
we'll come down to Wayne State. We could go out to Oakland County. We could go to Toledo. We could go to Grand Rapids, go up north. And then I'm hoping eventually to take it to New York and New Jersey where there's interest in it as well.
Okay.
And hopefully, honestly, if Dan Mulcahy is watching this, I hope if we bring it to New Jersey, Dan would come and participate with us, because I have nothing but respect for Dan. And I was, the last thing I'll say is I was all on board with Dan wanting to see him finally bag the white whale.
Right.
This has been literally his life's work, and he through his research brought the FBI, brought Fox News to a spot in New Jersey to dig a couple of years ago, and they dug and they didn't find anything. And that's kind of when I started to diverge away from him. He still insists that they dug in the wrong place.
Right.
That's that's his prerogative, and I trust him that there's that he really believes that.
Sure.
But since the FBI dug in that spot and came away from it saying there was nothing there, I've now kind of firmly planted my feet on this theory that he never left Detroit.
Okay. Well, thanks so much. July 23rd, Macomb Community College, 7 to 9 p.m. So it's a subject that I'm fascinated. Of course, I'm over 50, but anyway.
One of the real cool parts about it, and this is the real last thing I'll say, is that you're going to be seeing archival video and archival photos straight from the FBI archives, straight from some media archives. So you're going to be seeing stuff throughout that 2 hours that nobody's ever seen before, in addition to us giving you an answer to lots of surveillance photos and surveillance footage.
All right.
So it's
awesome.
we've been able to kind of get a holy grail of materials to add to the event.
All right, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to bring Tammy Daniels on from the Detroit Land Bank. So thanks so much, Scott.
Thank you.
Look forward to
thank you very much.
Next month, the anniversary month.
Yeah,
and Scott is quoted in a story that I did in our magazine. So,
and there'll be a story coming out in the Detroit News next week talking about my event as well as the 50th anniversary, and then I'll be also doing some work with Channel 4 WDIV. Promoting the event as well as doing coverage of the 50th anniversary.
$50 a pop.
All right.
23rd.
We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. Are you living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, or maybe you know someone who's in the same situation? The probate process may be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. We have several nonprofit partners who have free attorneys who can assist you. Contact our office, 313-224-5990, or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. Don't lose your family property. Some of these properties have been in the family for 4 or 5 generations. Contact us now. We're here to help.
Okay, we are back. Vanessa,
we're back. Detroit Black and White. Listen, thank you so much for watching Detroit Black and White. We're going to try to get to the comments. I usually have my laptop in front of me. I don't. But Mr. Allan Lengel has it, so maybe he'll be able to read the comments.
All right.
But thank you so much for watching on YouTube, Facebook, and all the other social media platforms. We have Tammy Daniels, who runs the Detroit Land Bank. She was on the show a couple of weeks ago. I understand that there was some technical difficulty, so we have her here today, and we're going to ask Tammy some questions. But good morning, Tammy.
Good morning. Good morning to the listening public.
Okay. Before we get started, Allan, I'm getting ready to call you Jim, and y'all don't even look alike.
Yeah. Well, we're both white.
Well, that would
Jimmy
be
L.
rightfully true.
Jimmy L.
So would you
Read some
shout out
comments.
just to read some comments and
All
then
right.
we'll get to Tammy.
Let's start here. You don't like my music. Too many people have nothing to live for. Talking about our previous discussion about the shooting. Day says, where are you all today? Felicia Dean says, good morning. You don't like my music. The main casual factor in high crime is inequality. Cynthia Johnson, good morning. Amanda Tibble, they're at the Guardian building. Day, thanks, Amanda. Miss Sheila, okay, Miss Vanessa got her drummers on so she can see whatever she wants to see. Bless up, Mr. Adolph and Mr. Allan. Amanda Table, a heart. You don't like my music? Americans will bend over backwards to avoid the gun issue. Day, hey, Coach T, Eric Brown, they're advocating for the Black businesses to be involved with the I-375 project, yet they are not reading out to the Black businesses.
Is that in reference
reaching
to the
out, I'm
reparations?
sorry.
Is that
Reaching out.
is that
I think that's 375.
okay?
We're talking
All
about
right.
375. Karen Winston says, I'm owed reparations twice, once for my parents and once for my pension. Chaz Duckett, good morning. Karen Winston, Detroit is run by gangsters still. You don't like my music. America has some of the most reactionary unions in the world. Ira Todd, July 23rd. Wow, that is the same anniversary date of the 1967 Detroit riots. I think we clarified that that's when his event is. Ira Todd, thank you, sir. Badly. Sam, body got cremated at Jimmy Q's and Bosie Vitalis joint closed by, and 3 months later it got torched. I think that's the Hamtramck incinerator, if I'm not correct. Dwella Boyce, GM Ali, excuse me, Ira Todd, not quite dispute anyone. Detroit riot 7/23/67 through 7/28/67. Stanley Brooks, I would say people 50 and under don't care. Sam Day Parlay, good morning from Hazel Park. Get Stanley Brooks, get it right. Vanessa, Ira Todd, can't wait to see it. You don't like my music. I've read that the U.S. authorities allowed the mob to control and corrupt unions in order to keep communists out of the union movement. Ira Todd, I worked on an FBI dig when a source said Hoffa's body was buried. They spent thousands and found nothing. Novi Toko knows nothing. That's from Sam. Ira Todd says he's right. Kenneth Reed, $50. Ira Todd, 1993. He's right. Kenneth Reed, $50. That's a concert ticket at the Aretha. Long live Jimmy Hoffa, though. Ira Todd, looking forward to seeing it. Eric Brown, July 23rd is a Wednesday. And Ira Todd, take it to Joe Berlinger. He is the best documentary film investigative filmmaker. And he's talking about the Hoffa.
All right.
All right,
So,
we're caught up.
all right. So Tammy,
Yes.
look, you've been on the show. You've run commercials on the show. And I think people are pretty much familiar with the Detroit Land Bank. But just briefly tell us what the Detroit Land Bank is, and then I'm going to ask you some questions.
So the Detroit Land Bank Authority in the city of Detroit is the holder
He's going
of
to tell you talk loud.
Okay. Long standing abandoned, distressed, vacant property. It is the place where all residential real estate is housed for sale. Our goal at the Detroit Land Bank is to return all the property in our inventory to productive use. At the height of our inventory, we had somewhere north of 115,000 pieces of property that included vacant land and structures. Right now, our inventory sits just around 64,000 pieces of property. We have sold a significant amount of property, but we still have a huge inventory. Our inventory is larger than any land bank in the history of land banking. And so our job is not done. We've come a long way, but we still have a lot of work to do.
Can you break? Can you break down that 64,000 properties? How many are commercial? How many are vacant lots?
Yeah, so it's all residential for the most part. It's going to be residential property. 62,000 pieces of those properties are vacant land.
Vacant land.
Yeah, so we're at the tail end of our structure inventory. So yeah, it's all vacant land.
What could I buy a lot for vacant land?
If you are a Detroit resident and you live in your house is occupied and there's a vacant lot next to your house, you could get it for $100.
Wow.
If you live in the city and there's a vacant lot within 500 feet of your occupied home, you can get it for $250. And then there are other programs for our community partners, for block clubs, for church, for our faith-based organizations. We have programming to help them to create pocket parks and urban gardens, farms, and
wow.
So there's a host of programming and opportunities still yet to be taken advantage of.
So, Tammy, we're going to get right down to the bottom of it. You know that there has been a lot of criticism of the Detroit Land Bank.
Absolutely.
Some of the criticism is people really don't know what you do. They talk about how they can't get in contact with the land bank, how the land bank is taking their property. I remember a few weeks ago, you had the guy on the east side that had that monstrosity over there on the east side. He's standing there with the envelope. They're taking my property. I had a friend of mine who called me and said that they're taking my property. I, of course, have, how can I say that? I've, of course, have represented a few people that have had issues with the land bank. What is it that you think that you can do to demystify the land bank? I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that people don't actually know what you do. I think a lot of it has to do with people are frustrated with the process of getting the property, and the biggie is you got a lot of people playing political football with the Detroit Land Bank.
All of those things are true. So let's start with how you navigate the land bank. The land bank houses a significant number of programs. All of them have complexities. You can buy vacant land, you can buy structures. We're charged with pursuing the owners of privately owned blighted vacant property. So some of the concerns that you raised, those sound to me like individuals whose property were tagged because they were viewed as nuisances in the neighborhood. And so we're charged with pursuing those private owners to have them bring their property up to code so that the residents who live in the neighborhood are not required to live next to that. Now, you hear many people complain, well, how are you coming after me and you own all this property, all this blighted property? The land bank is the owner of last resort. We didn't choose and say, oh, I'm going to get that piece of property right there. These are properties that came to us because people would not take care of them, did not pay their taxes. Unlike these privately owned properties where you've chosen to purchase the property, and so now you should be required to keep it up. Our goal is to bring all that property into our inventory and then return it and sell it. A significant number of the complaints that we get, it is, I believe, directly related to the sheer volume that we operate in. So, we sell thousands of pieces of property a year. Having sold just short of 55,000 pieces of property in 10 years, you can only imagine what those processes behind the scenes to make every one of those transactions happen. There is a lot of people working, trying to make that happen. And so while I recognize and appreciate that Detroit residents are frustrated, I would say you're frustrated not because necessarily the land bank is the culprit. You're frustrated at decades of disinvestment, people moving out of the city, having to live next to blighted property that's been sitting there for decades, and you want an answer, and they deserve an answer. They shouldn't have to live next to you. And so we are moving as quickly as possible, trying to return those properties to productive use so that there can be someone who's going to be there to address that.
So what about, people playing, as far as I'm concerned, political football with the Detroit Land Bank? You have some people that's running for mayor saying, listen, I think that we need to work collaborative. There needs to be a collaborative effort to work with the Detroit Land Bank so that these properties can be turned to residents, or not returned to residents, but residents should be able to be given more time to fix on their property if they bought the property, etc. What is it that? What are your feelings about this? And maybe I'm not going to answer for you because I'm used to doing that for people, but I'm not going to answer for you. What is your response to that?
Look, we live in a democracy. The land bank has always been charged with supporting the city, the residents, and the administration, and we follow the lead of the administration. The programs that we've created over the last 10 plus years have been at the prompting of the mayor's office, city council, and residents. And we will continue to evolve our programming to meet those needs. So when whoever is the next mayor who leads the administration, I'm hopeful that they're going to have some creative new ideas of ways that they can harness the land bank and its power to affect those changes that they're trying to make. So it's going to be incumbent upon that person and their staff to come up with programming, how they want to change and how they want to use the land bank.
So do I hear that? That's where I was going. Am I hearing that really the land bank is a tool that whoever's in the office can use to maybe promote their agenda? Be it that they want people to live in these homes, or be it that, listen, land is very valuable. Adolph has said that many times, and we got a lot of land. I drive around the city all the time. A lot of vacant lots. One, do we have out of town investors buying these lots, preventing people from buying these properties? And two, is there a plan for people to build communities?
So let me say, a couple of weeks ago, it was actually the day that I called in and we had technical difficulties. We were out in the community celebrating the 30,000 vacant lot that we sold.
That was over in Brightmoor, right?
Absolutely, at the Theldra Williams Park. That was a park that was created by Michael Williams to honor his late mother. He took 9 vacant land bank lots and turned it into a park for the community. That's what we see over and over again. Of those 30,000 lots that we sold, 86% of them were to Detroiters, because side lots are by far, that is our flagship program. It is the program that every Detroiter wants to take advantage of, because you can get the lot adjacent to you for $100. That's where most of those 30,000 lots went to Detroiters. So it's not going to out-of-state investors. We do have people who absolutely come in and want to make investment, and we do not discriminate. But the vast majority of our sales are to Detroiters and to African Americans.
Are you seeing any farming done on those lots?
Oh, absolutely.
And what percentage are parks? What percentage are farming?
So I can't give you like hard percentages on parks and farms, but we work very closely with urban farmers. The Black Farmer Land Fund gets discounts, and they're able to give it to people who participate in their program. They can get discounts on Detroit Land Bank property so that they can create urban farms. I'm actually slated to go out to visit one of our most prolific urban farmers, Willie Patman, over in District 5, has turned his neighborhood into a oasis, and he is a 90-plus-year-old gentleman who's out on a regular. He has built farms on multiple lots right around the footprint of his home, and so we see a lot of urban farms.
So Eric Brown, who's sitting at the end of the table, he's not on, here on camera. But his question is, he says the selling of property results in who's benefiting from the money. Who's benefiting from the money that is received from the selling of these properties? Where the money go? Where does the money go?
So the purpose of all the property coming to the land bank so that we can, again, return it to productive use. So the 55,000 pieces of property that we have sold result in tax revenue to the city. So that's the whole goal, is to get these properties back on the tax roll. The land bank is entitled to 5 years of that tax revenue. So we're supposed to receive 5 years of the taxes that are collected once we sell it.
There's, do you want to read
Plus,
it?
Right.
plus the money we take in for the actual sale.
So one of our co-hosts said that they think that the land bank is shady. Well, and so, and like I said, one of the things is people really don't know what you do.
Mhm.
You got a lot of older people who live in these neighborhoods that have these side lots. It's frustrating trying to get on a computer or whatever the case may be, looking up the property, bidding on the property. It's very frustrating for people. So what are you going to do to make this different for people, more accessible to people?
So we went with an online platform for that very reason, so that you wouldn't have to come downtown, try to find parking, that you could access and purchase land from the privacy of your own home. So the online platforms are intended for that very reason, so that it can be easier for people to just simply get on the computer. We do also are out in the community. So we have, this summer, we do bi-monthly community events in the neighborhoods where people can come down. We were at coffee shop in District 1, and last week we were also in District 4. And you can go on our website or on our social media channels to find out where our next ones will be. But we go out into the community and sit in libraries, coffee shops, so that people can come in and we can show them how to do that. But I appreciate that we have a population of residents who are not as tech savvy as possible. And so we do try to afford them opportunities for that in-person, face-to-face hand holding. When we were at the last couple of weeks at the park for the 30,000 side lot fair, we had a whole table and a team of people who were out there to help people. So you can also come down to our offices, which in this building, in the Guardian building, we're 9 to 5.
Which is like Fort Knox.
Well, there's a reason
It's like
for that.
Fort Knox.
9 to
So-
5. We are available. You make an appointment, come down, and somebody can walk you through it if you need help to navigate the computer. But we just launched a new communication system that is being rolled out that is intended to even make it easier, where you can interface and learn things about the land bank without having to get on the phone or wait to talk to somebody. You can use a chat bot on the computer. The world we live in, unfortunately, is becoming more and more reliant on technology to transact, and we are trying to catch up because we have been behind. So we're trying to catch up, and that necessarily means more technology now.
Why don't we take a break and then we're going to wrap it up
Yeah,
with Tammy Daniels. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in a home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
All right, we are back with Tammy Daniels, head of the Detroit Land Bank. I have a quick question, Tammy. Do you see the land bank disappearing at some point when you get rid of all the properties? Is that the goal, or?
So the goal is to absolutely work ourselves out of a job. The goal is to, return all of our properties to productive use. There would probably always be the need for the land bank because properties do continue to cycle back through the system, either through foreclosure or whatever. But the footprint of the land bank should be much smaller if we were a thriving city. No thriving city has 62,000, 64,000 pieces of property in public ownership. Like that's not
It's amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's amazing. I lived in DC. There were so few empty property. There was so few empty buildings, commercial, even no matter what the neighborhood, it was really land was very, very, and property was such a premium. Here it's like the Wild West.
It
in
is.
a lot of ways. is.
And while property values have increased tremendously, there's still absolutely, I mean, we still own way too much property. We should not own 62,000 for dollars.
Well, Tammy, we're going to have you back, and hopefully you'll be making sure that the land bank don't look so doggone shady by being far more. I think you're transparent, but a lot of people just don't feel that way, and I think it has a lot to do with people don't really know and don't understand and can't even appreciate what the land bank is doing. And I think that it's the leadership's responsibility to say, hey, this is a good program for the city of Detroit, and this is why.
We have one more. I just want to make sure we get. Jay says, tried to purchase a lot next door to me for 4 years, and land bank refused to sell it to anyone. However, the land bank won't cut the grass at the lot, so land bank is creating a blighted condition.
So, Jay, I don't know the address of that property, but that sounds like an issue. Now, I could take his information if you shared it with me, and I'll investigate it for him. But sure. Yeah, we work very closely.
Is there an email that people can?
Oh, absolutely. They can inquire, INQUIRE at DetroitLandBank.org. But we work very closely with our city partners who are charged with maintaining our lots. Mm-hmm. The city cuts our lots 5 times a year in the summertime. So letting us know about those issues can make sure that property is on the list to cut.
Okay.
So you say 5 times a year, you mean
in the summer, cuts, mows.
On a regular basis?
5 times.
Okay.
In the summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
Fascinating subject. It's much talked about, and like I said, as Vanessa mentioned, it comes up in the mayoral campaign.
People dog it out all the time.
And of course, we don't always get the right information in debates, and people say things, and I'm
Absolutely.
Sure you must watch it and think, wait a minute.
Well, we constantly hear that the land bank should be disbanded, and the question really is, what are you going to do? It's not
in place.
It's right. What are you going to do to replace it? We stole 55,000 lots in 10 years. How are you going to dispose of the other 64,000 if you get rid of the land bank? And so we're at an inflection point. Our inventory is very different now than it was 10 years ago. Our programming does need to shift and change to meet the moment. And so, that's where we're at. We're trying to figure out what does it need to look like going forward so that we can dispose of the 64,000 lots as quickly as possible.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a great weekend.
Yes, you too.
Thanks a lot. We've got.
Well, that's all bullshit they talking about getting rid of. It's easy to be political and say, "Oh, I'm gonna get rid of the land bank." As soon as they get in there, oh, I can use this. I can use that. I've heard it before. I've been down that road before. We're gonna cut. We're gonna do this, and they don't do shit.
No, but they do need to do, whoever steps into that seat as the mayor of the city of Detroit, they really need to make that a part of their platform. We now know that the land bank can be used, it has been used as a tool to push forward whatever the mayor's agenda is. But we haven't heard the current mayor say anything about
because when he was the prosecutor and they had those houses that they had to deal with, the feds came in and bomb rushed the prosecutor's office because there's always some shady deals when it comes to housing and I'm not saying that the mayor or the people that's in charge, you always have some underlings.
All right.
They know how to manipulate the process, and they get their friends deals, and they take stuff off the market. And I had people tell me they saw a piece of property at the city. It was for $5,000 for the lot and stuff. They went and inquired, brought the down payment. Mm-hmm. That Monday, it was on a Friday. That Monday, it was $50,000. Mm-hmm. They'll change the price because somebody wanted that property. They thought they was gonna get it. So they do magic
needs,
things.
right? Things need to improve, but it's like healthcare where the Republicans came in and said we're going to get rid of Obamacare.
They get
They had
rid of
nothing to replace it with.
Right.
It's like
That's a
Obamacare
good
is not
analogy.
perfect, but give us something better.
Well, anyway, we had great guests today.
We
You know,
did.
guess what?
Scott Burnstein.
He's gonna come back on, right? You're gonna have to come back on.
Why do people, when we do Guardian Building and we have guests, they don't want to leave?
I have no
We've
idea.
had this
I have no
before.
idea. But I think he thought that he was going to be on for the
Yeah,
whole
I
hour.
think it was just.
I think it was a communication issue.
Right, right.
But
we can have him
come back
on a
and-
Friday or
Right.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Because that's a good time.
Yeah.
And
we're
Tammy
gonna see
Daniels
5
asked,
million movies though about
with
Hoffa.
Hoffa.
And
I think the government
cement
had a
and all
hand in killing Hoffa.
I do too. And my question is, well, if they know who it is, why are the
I don't care.
FBI still going on these wild goose chases?
Well,
I just
now
don't-
it's for the
spending
body.
all of this money.
It's-
using all the listen.
Ain't nobody.
That was
Yeah,
over
right.
50 years ago. Y'all spending all
Ain't
this money for
nobody.
that for
Well,
what?
are they going to find Judge Craven? Remember, he disappeared in the 30s. The judge.
You know.
No, it's.
fake.
I don't think they're. I mean, look, everyone's dead who was involved in that plot. The Giacalone brothers, the other guy, which actually in our magazine we talk about that. But I mean, the question is really about the body, and I don't know. Maybe that completes the full circle.
Well,
there,
he did. He
Yeah.
did.
I mean, look, I talked to his son. I talked to his son,
The
Jimmy
shade is
Hoffa.
real.
I talked to his son, Jimmy Hoffa Jr., and it's not actually Junior, it's James P. Hoffa.
Yeah.
And he said, I mean, there's
He 80 something.
he's 83, 84.
That's crazy.
And he says, look, I mean, he was up in Traverse City. He got a call from his mother on July 31st.
Josephine.
Yeah, Josephine saying, Dad
Oh, James.
didn't come home last night. He took a plane. He was with his family, his wife and 2 kids up in Traverse City area. He took a plane home. He started making phone calls right away, calling everybody, and then they went to the Marcus Red Fox, the car. Jimmy Hoffa's car was still there. This was July 31st. They popped the trunk because they were worried he might be in the trunk or whatever. And after that,
But they should have. They should have left.
any
They
illusions.
should have left him in. They should have left him in the trunk.
Yeah.
And then we wouldn't be talking about this.
Well, I'm not talking about it because, like I said, it'll make 50 million movies.
But,
We'll see
but,
all
it's
these
a money, but it's a
documentaries.
money maker.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
a money
it
maker.
is.
Ask
It
Danny
is.
DeVito and Jack Nicholson.
Well, Jack Nicholson, which was not a great film, but now they have Martin Scorsese has, I can't remember the name of the movie, but he has a movie out with De Niro in
You
there.
talking to me?
Yeah, and Pacino plays Jimmy Hoffa.
They couldn't even
and,
really
and,
be.
And the movies, it's
You
great.
They
The
couldn't.
movie that they had on Netflix or something
Yeah.
like that.
They couldn't even be real gangsters. Because they Danny DeVito this big, Joe Pesci this big, De Niro this big.
Although Jimmy Hoffa was only 5'5" or something.
But he used to. Matty
He
Maroon.
was a boxer.
Matty Maroon used to deal with Jimmy Hoffa when they had a gas station. They were driving trucks.
Here we go back to gas stations.
Yeah,
But go
the
ahead.
gas
Go
station
back to
starts
the
a lot of
gas
this.
station.
But we'll be back on Wednesday. Thanks everyone. We probably have Jim back. He's enjoying himself
Right.
somewhere.
Right.
This is Adolph Mongo, Detroit in black and white. Thanks, Vanessa.
Thank you.
Alan.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Alan.
Thanks everybody.
Thanks,
Great
Lady T
weekend.
and Eric. We sorry Eric couldn't get on, but he
He got his
participated.
own show.
Go
with
Tigers.
Right, which is Monday night. What time? Come on around here, Eric, so you can remind people about reality strikes.
This Monday, 8:30, and I will be broadcasting live from the National Charter School Conference in Orlando, Florida.
Can they
Oh.
read? Can they read?
Well,
Can they read? That's all we want to know.
so
We'll
are
be
you gonna
back.
have some of the people from the conference on your show?
All right.
Yes, I plan to
Thanks.
have the
All right.
founder of Black Minds Matter on
Okay.
Monday.
Okay. All
All
right.
right. Thanks.